And welcome back to the live stream. I'm in a different position now because we're going to do something very different today than maybe we have before. And I haven't decided yet if this is going to be the longest live stream that I've ever done. I think it's better for me to start off with the how to do it, smaller version. But this is about the Clarke book. And I think we've all owned a Clarke book for probably most of our trumpet playing careers. And we've played different exercises out of it. Everyone knows Clarke number 2 because that's a good way to learn your scales. A lot of people know Clarke number 1 as that is a good sort of warm-up for a lot of people, and it's good to get your fingers and your lips and your air moving. It's just a chromatic scale. And some people know Clarke number 3 because that is your arpeggios, and it's sort of in a 1-4-1-5-1 chord progression. And then after that, it drops off pretty dramatically, I think. Some teachers use Clarke number 4, the trill tones kind of exercise. And then a couple of teachers I've heard of use number 5, which is a lot of very fast scales and also minor and major scales kind of like back and forth. And then that's about it. I don't really hear of a lot of people using any more of the Clarke book than that, but there is more. And so anyway, I encourage you to check out the entire Clarke book. But what we're going to do today is maybe something a little bit more unique. And that is, I want to show you what I've been working on with the Clarke book. And that is, well, without getting too much into it, I'm trying to play from number 1, so the very first exercise in the Clarke book, all the way through as far as I can with little bits of rest here and there, but as far as I can get in a single day. And so far, let's see what my record is. I just got it yesterday, 150. So that's pretty good out of 190 exercises. That's almost all the way through the Clarke book in one day. Is that really true, 190? Sorry, I'm going to stand up and ruin the video for a second. But yeah, it is really true. So I almost made it, darn it. I almost went further, but I felt pretty good. But this is my Clarke book. And you probably have one that looks a lot like it. There are lots of different ones, and they generally have the same words, although you have to be careful. Sometimes they've chosen synonyms that aren't quite right. But you should always read all of the words because that's the secret here. Oops, I'm out of frame. So the first study, perhaps the most important. Now I'm skipping over some words, and so let's look at them a little bit and just kind of say, all right, well, what is there that I might need to pay attention to? And I think all of it is important. He says, if you can play these exercises in one breath according to the instructions, you'll have endurance without strain or injury. And you have to train the muscles of the lips. Now, a lot of times we get away from this because we don't want to focus on the lips. We want to focus on the airflow. And he's not neglecting the airflow. He's just saying, well, but this is also necessary. And I mean, I'll let you read the bulk of this. I do have it prepared over here. So this is the version that I found online. And if you didn't know, it's okay to download things that you already own. These are different words than my words, though. This introduction is really very different. And so I mean, it's a little bit of the same materials, but this is also excerpted. It looks like this one is from the setting up drills, which I also like a lot. The words in there are very important. But generally speaking, if you pay attention to the words, you will get the gist of it. And I'm here to show it to you as well. So what we're going to start with is the first study. So let's read those words because that's what's going to be important. And so why should you pay attention to me or this? Well, I'm here to tell you that when I first started, which was about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks almost. Yeah, let's call it 2 weeks. When I first started, here, I'll come back over here. When I first started this project, I had to take a lot of rest. I wasn't really figuring it out right away. And I didn't get very far. I think I got all the way to number 5. Exercises 5, and I didn't really get very far in that. So probably somewhere around, I don't know, 100 and something. And that took me several hours. the next day I could do more at a time, and I could go faster with less rest, and so I could get further. So that day I got through the bulk of number 5, the first section. Then the next day, actually a few days later, I was sort of just doing this every day, and it only took me about 2 weeks, like I said, to get all the way up to number 150, which is deep into the, I believe, 7th study. And so that's considerable progress, and all just by playing extremely soft and trying to keep my lips pliable, keeping my aperture small, and trying to play as smoothly as possible. I do have to rest, but more for my hand than anything else. So I think this is good. Now, is it a forward sound? Is it a big orchestral sound? Well, no, but I think if I practice this way and get my endurance right and my aperture setting proper, and the way that I use the aperture and the tongue position in the air, which is what this all teaches us, then I find a better way to play more efficiently, and then I can add to that. I can go back to a more orchestral sort of weighted sound, and maybe that will have a cost, but I'll be starting from a better place, and so that cost hopefully will be less. So that's my idea, and we can test that out together today. I'm not going to do, like I said, I could talk about this for 2 hours. Yesterday when I got to 150, it took me 4 hours. So that's quite a long time. I don't think we want to do that live stream today. Maybe someday we'll do a 4-hour marathon where we just play the whole Clarke book. But until I know I can do that, I think I'm just going to stick to showing you how I approach it and doing a bunch of it for you. So we've read the beginning. Let's look at the words about the first study. So what does he say? 8 to 16 times. Does that mean the repeat or just up and down? It doesn't matter at first. Just as many times as you can, but one whole breath for each number, right? So that's the important thing here. Fingers firm, okay. Keep the lips moving. That might be really important. Contract slightly in ascending, relax in descending. So that's okay. And you'd feel that if you were maintaining the same aperture or if you were tightening and loosening. So I don't think he says what to do. He just says what to expect to feel, right? So that's important to remember. And then remember, all of these exercises must be played very soft, he says. And you'll always be fresh and under control. Basically, in some of the other texts, he says he can play all day. And he never gets tired. And so, hey, that sounds good to me. I'll have one of those, please, right? If played loud, you might be permanently injured. Well, okay, that's also good to note. And then he has an analogy there. So all we're going to do is we're going to play these, and we're going to play them very softly. And I'm anxious to hear these. And I'll talk less because we're just really going to do the same thing over and over again. Oops, I turned too many pages. So, oh, and I need to have my chat up in case somebody is yelling at me. So there we go. I can sort of see that now. So now I sometimes play very big mouthpieces. You see me on the channel, tuba and whatever. This I don't do that with because I really need to set up the embouchure that I'm going to use. And before I even start, so that I can just kind of go to the next one, what I notice is that through trying to make the notes really smooth and really soft and going faster, so smooth first, I would say, and then soft, and those are sort of linked, like they need to both happen, and then fast, which is a little less important, but still eventually teaches you the most kind of unique information. And what I notice is my top lip out here, right, not the middle, but way out here, my top lip does some new stuff that it wasn't doing before, and it's getting stronger there, and that's enabling me to play longer with less rest and potentially higher with ease. The high range feels different when you do it this way, and I don't sort of blow at it and insist that it kind of come out, but I just kind of let it, maybe it's going to come out, maybe it's going to crash and burn. That's okay. You have to sort of approach it almost like the Schlossberg book. And like you're insisting that it happen, but only the easiest way. I hope that makes sense. So I know I've talked a lot of time here. I'm already up to who knows how many minutes. I can't find my minutes on here anymore. Oh, there are 10 minutes of talking. So maybe we'll put a tag in the video. If you want to hear just this guy play, then go to this 10-minute mark. But here we go. I'm just going to play the first study the way that I play it. So how's that? I go slowly up and down the first time, and then I start to ramp it up or just go as fast as I can. And sometimes the first note's hard for me, so sometimes I'll just find that note. So here we go. I try to do them as many times as I can in one breath. It's really hard for me to count to 8 or 16, so I'll count them later on the video, and that's what you can do. Or you can just use a click counter and a friend or something like that, but that's what I'm doing. All right. I'm also trying to employ a little more of Clarke's, let me move my mics, Clarke's posture from setting up drills, which does seem to matter. When I don't do his thing, I get worse results. If I'm face to down angle like this, it's not as good, so maybe that's important. So some of them for some reason I can go really fast on C, F sharp, sometimes F to B. Some of the ones that just maybe we practice more by virtue of starting on those notes more, I'm not sure. But that's what we're doing, and that took about 5 minutes. So every tritone takes roughly 5 minutes for me. And that should be pretty similar no matter how slowly or quickly you go, because we all have a very similar lung capacity. So, but what you might find is that you're actually playing a lot louder than you think, and you can't, do, well, it's about, what, 40 seconds or something, right? If you can't do the up and down exercise for very long, then there's a lot of air being wasted, or you're playing too loudly, or some other aperture issue is happening, and so then that isn't really what he says. It's not, you're not able to go 8 to 16 times. And this is something that you find in the Arbenz book as well, that, oops, I forgot to stop my timer. This is something you really want to keep track of too. So I'm going to do the real deal tracking, Clarke number 1, C, F sharp up to C. So, because I really need to be careful here. I want to know what works and what doesn't, and so far I'm finding that something like half rest and half practice, or somewhere around 2/3 playing and 1/3 resting, is really efficient here. So we're going to try that, because at the beginning here also it's not that hard, and these are all pretty low and low impact, but it needs muscle. But anyway, what I was saying, the Arbenz book, if you do page 44, or in the new book it's page 42, number 22 in the legato studies, it's a lip slur, and it goes, I'll do it for you so you know which one. Well, that exercise has one big long phrase mark over the top of it, and you could say, well, no, that just means slur, Gabriel. That's what he means by that. But yeah, if you're slurring the whole thing all at once, that also means you can't breathe. So that means you have to do it quickly enough to do it in one breath. And this is something that we've lost a little bit of the plot of. Modern students sometimes they see the set of notes and they think, well, if I play that set of notes and just keep working on it, then I'll learn something. And that's probably true, generally, but it might not be the thing that it intends to teach you. And in this case, 8 to 16 times in one breath, that's a lot of times, which means it's really fast. And in one breath, he doesn't say, or until you finish your breath, whichever comes first, right? He says, no, you want to do it all in one breath, and you should try to get it up to 8 to 16 times. But that you should go slowly first until you get it, right? So, and always soft, right? Always under control. So I think if we're careful about reading what he intends, then we might learn what he intends to teach. And that is usually the case, especially in this era. You got to remember, this is still an era where it costs money to print things. And so you don't just print things to have them printed. You had to have economy of language. And so everything that's in here is meaningful. And I'm not sure that I would have spent the time to print it out starting on every note, but I'm sure, couldn't think of another way to make sure that you understood that you needed to do that, and really take your time with it. So anyway, it's been about 3 minutes. That's a little more than we probably wanted, but we'll write that down, and we'll just keep going. So we got to F sharp. I hope that's true. Oh, sorry, we got to C. So now we're on C sharp. So you see what I mean? You have to really play softly, and you really have to let your fingers go, and you have to really know your chromatic scale. But then you might be, I'm going to check back the tape later and see if I actually ever get even close to 16. And I'm still not sure about if it's 16 times up and down or 16 times 2, because there's twice up and down inside the repeat, right? If you look with me on the other one, see? So is it up and down 16 times, or is it up and down twice 16 times? I think it's that, because the repeat sign is after 2 times. So that would be 32 times up and down. I'm not sure I'll ever get there, but worth a shot. So now, I said this would be an abridged version. Maybe let's do, well, I was going to do more of this one, but then I'm not doing the abridged version, am I? But what I was going to tell you is some of my numbers from previous. So the first time I tried it, I did it for about 5 or 6 minutes before I just couldn't make another one happen. The next time, let's look back in my journal. The next time I could play, I could play for about 10 minutes. And then the next time, this one was incredible to me because I'm not a person with good endurance. The next time I wrote it all down. So I'd been doing this kind of in my office without my journal. So I'm not sure. Generally, I was doing like 10-minute sessions because I knew that was possible. And then I do emails for a long time. But last night I got up to 19 minutes, which was all of Clarke number 1 without stopping, all the way up to high C. And well, that felt pretty good. I felt good at the end of it. I almost wanted to just go on to Clarke number 2, but I thought better of it because, well, I've done this a long time, and I know sometimes when you feel good is at the end of a long session, when you feel good is right when you're about to injure yourself. So I decided to rest for only 9 minutes. And then I did Clarke number 2. So what I want to do for the rest of this video, so that it's not 4 hours long, is just show you a little bit of how I do the other ones. And you know, because this one I start slow on each one, right? Make sure it's smooth, make sure it's soft. I think you get the idea. And the way I would recommend it is do all of them in the first study, but rest whenever you have to. And whether that's for your hand or your lips or whatever, when it stops working well and you really can't make it work, don't try to make it work. Just rest, maybe just 2 or 3 minutes, maybe even 5 or 6 or 10. I went to the grocery store when I got really tired yesterday, and that's what made it, well, both 4 hours and possible to get to 150. So just do a set. Start with the tritone of them, so F sharp up to C, C up to F sharp up to C, and then C up to F sharp, and that's all of them. And if you do each one of those 5 minutes at a time, well, then that's 20 minutes of playing, and you're going to need to rest 3 times in between. So that whole process, if you rest 5 minutes as well, is going to take you just under an hour, right? That's going to be 35 minutes. Oh, that's not even close to an hour. 35 minutes. That's not bad. But that's how I would recommend doing it. All right, so on to Clarke number 2. Everybody knows Clarke number 2 just fine, but and you can also do the etudes. I think the etudes are in there to be sort of a catch-all for, you know, like if you want to see if you've still got all of this all at once, but you don't have time to go through it all today, then he kind of gives you the etudes to say like, well, here is all of what you would have done, kind of compacted into like half a measure per number. So, okay, what does he say? Well, let's look together. Whoops, messed it up. Okay. What does he say? Well, let's get down there. There's etude 1. Oh, there's some pages blank in this version. This PDF is a little... Oh, they're not blank. They're just not loading. Great. Okay, here we go. Well, there we go. Okay. So what does he say? Well, he says, accent each group of 4 notes to ensure perfect rhythm. I also like to use this as a sort of chance to do a little air check to make sure that I'm not playing so quietly that my lips caving in, but I'm trying to play quietly. Commence each exercise by slurring as marked, then practice single tongue, then double tongue. And just work on the ones you need to work on. Don't work on the ones that are too easy for you. Now, in my case, I'm going straight through the book, and some of them are harder than others, but then the easy ones are just easy, so I'm not really spending a lot of time on them, right? Okay, let's do some Clarke number 2. That was 6 minutes, so I'm not really doing my thing. That was actually 2 minutes of playing and then 4 minutes of rest, and that was same. Okay, so I'm just going straight through, and I used the metronome yesterday. You can certainly do that. I'm not going to do it for now, just so that we have a little more leeway to talk, but you absolutely should use the metronome. No, as a matter of fact, what am I doing? Let's use the metronome. We love the metronome, right? And some of them might not be possible at the same tempo, so I like to try to find one tempo that I can do all of them on, so I don't have to touch the metronome, so I don't have to stop. And I know for a fact this takes about 5 minutes, so let's just do them all. This is 110. Well, what did I do yesterday? Let's make sure that I'm not telling tales out of school here. Yeah, I did 120 yesterday, so let's do 120. Okay. I got too excited and I'm only doing them once. I'm supposed to do them twice. And what I do is the second time through, I tongue on the accents instead of just doing the air. That way I get my tongue into the game. So let me start over. Sorry about that. Okay, see how much the tongue ruins everything for me in the low register? But I can work on it here, and that's exactly what I did. I did a very quick little exercise, tried to get it back together, then I got it quiet again, because we always add air when there's a problem, and that's not going to help us here. It helps us in the short term, but it doesn't help us get the exercise right. So then I got it softer again and found out how to tongue, and hopefully it'll go better next time. So you could hear a couple of times in there, it did take 5 minutes, but a couple of times in there, I had to do just a little more resting before I hit the next one. And you could also hear, and I'm so embarrassed by this, but never afraid to sound bad on camera or on live stream. There were a couple that my fingers, especially low ones like C sharp, B, for some reason A I think was the one today. I'll go back and check, but those are the ones I'm going to work on slowly again. And another good way to do this, because there's plenty of air. I'm never starved for air at the end of any given one of these. You could do it half tempo, one time through, and then slurred and then tongued, right? And that might help me smooth it out. You can also hear that sometimes when I started to get tired, the tongue started to take a little more toll on the response. And so the next one, I would kind of batten down the hatches. And that's what I'm really learning from this, is what is going on with my embouchure as I get tired, and how do I kind of mitigate it in an active way, right? So what I tend to do is I kind of crush my lip a little bit with pressure, and I blow a little harder, and that seems to work for most people. But then when you tongue under that circumstance, sometimes the tonguing is too plosive, and it gets the lip in a position where it can't keep vibrating as easily without adding even more air. And so when that happens, I'm adjusting my lip position in the mouthpiece and the way that I hold it there. And I wasn't aware of that for like a week, but I just was like, I don't know, I guess I'll stop for a second and try to, get it to work again. And it wasn't until I started noticing my embouchure holding in a different way that I kind of figured it out. So hopefully that is helpful. And I'm not, certainly the way that sounded, I'm not doing this to show off or anything, but it doesn't take very long to get through all of your second study with one repeat. And so, and he's right, I can't wait to be so good at this that I can single tongue all of it or double tongue it, especially double tongue. But I'm a long ways off from being able to do that and play softly like this. And that's what's important, right? That's what he said, is if you play these exercises loudly, you're gonna pay for it. So I can certainly double tongue this right now, but it would be too loud and it would be too kind of kludgy and too plosive. And so I would just be beating up my lip the whole time. All right. So third study. What does he say? I'll read out of my book just because I'll sit and read out of my book. I keep forgetting. I always stand for these. Practice without repeating it first until the fingers are under perfect control. So I guess I should put it on the screen now that I said that, because, well, you probably want to see what the heck I'm talking about. So here we go. Let's see if there's a difference. How about that? So here's one whole one for third study, right? You can see that. This is the first one. Practice without repeating it first until the fingers are under perfect control. Same as that. All right. These exercises are excellent for training the lips to be flexible in slurring, single, double tonguing, especially towards the end of the study. Okay, we'll see what he means by that. 823 can be played entirely in one breath with practice. Yeah, I think maybe, but it's really fast for me. Yeah, I still can't quite do it, but I can do it in 2 breaths. And usually I don't want to do that even. I want to take both of the breaths that are marked. So anyway, all right. Well, we're still piano. We still have accents every 4th note. And this time we are to tongue every bar. So ta, ta, ta. And it's something that I left out at first. And again, I also feel like the way that he's talking about it, practice without repeating it first, maybe practice without tonguing it at all at first as well, just to get the fluidity of the air. Because it's not a lot of air. If you're going to play softly, you can't use a lot of air. I know that maybe runs contrary to a lot of pedagogy, but it's not a lot. It's very smooth air that works. And if I do that right, I learned this thing from Clarke about being able to play all day without getting tired. So now it's not that I never get tired. It's just not even close to the same type of fatigue. So let's try that out. Here we are on the 3rd study. I've rested now 4.5 minutes, which is almost as much as we played. So let's try it out. And I probably have to skip around in these because there's a lot of them. Yesterday, Clarke number 3, all of it took me 11 minutes. And I also did it all without stopping. So I don't think we ought to do that. Maybe we'll do every other one or something, right? And if we're going to do every other one, then in that case, I'll start with the second one, number 47, because there's a note that's sort of missing in the first one because you can't go down low enough for the 5/7 chord, where you can do it in number 47 because, well, it's only a half step up. So I'll start on number 47. That'll also make all my keys easier, so I'll have a better chance of success. Maybe we'll switch over halfway through. I don't know. So as I do this, I'm trying to manage that I don't crush my aperture open, right? And I'm really trying to do them all in one breath. That was also something that I was not capable of the first couple of weeks, even on the ones that, or a couple of days, even on the ones that my fingerings were really solid and I could go fast. I was just wasting a lot of air moving around. And that is an interesting thing to learn, right? That we think like maybe a certain note has a certain air cost or a certain type of motion, maybe octaves cost more than fourths or something, I don't know. But that's not really, it doesn't have to be the way it works, right? There can be sort of one cost that you manipulate in different ways that don't maybe feel like they have a cost to you. And they might cost somewhere else, maybe the air, maybe the sound quality, maybe the intonation or something, right? But then we can do a balance between those things and get something much more efficient. So I promise I'm not talking to rest. I'm just trying to sort of explain like that this also really had a lot of progress for me over the last 2 weeks because I really couldn't do any of them without breathing in the middle. So anyway, I think I just did E flat, so I think I'm on F now. We'll see. Sorry to stop again. You also may notice I have a double buzz or a crackle in my tone some of the time, and that usually starts to happen when normally my normal fatigue would start to set in. But what I try to do is play through that last one, and then I try the next one and see if I can eliminate it in the next one. And if not, then I usually finish that and then I take a real rest. So maybe I'm just getting to that point. But I think I can finish this off. I don't think it's too much more to do. And then the high notes, you sort of want to goose them because you know there's no way it's going to come out with this air. But you got to try it with the air you're already using because every other note came out just fine. That time, the high note didn't quite come out. But actually, if you watch back the footage, I goose it a little bit, and that's probably why it didn't come out. So now it also might mean that I need a rest. And this is one where I couldn't do the repeats on just the last 3 or 4 of them and get the high notes when I was doing it continuously because I was just too fatigued from constant playing. But we've been playing 8 minutes now with the small amount of talking I've done, and I'm still okay. Whereas that number is usually a lot shorter, like 4 or 5 minutes of constant playing. So let's try to finish it off. Now I'm going chromatically. Sometimes I'll go very smoothly and slowly at the end. I'm also feeling like I took some skin off the bottom lip, and maybe that's why my double buzz is there. But okay, we have one more to go. May as well go for it. All right, so there's number 3, all done in 9 minutes. And like I said, that took me 11 minutes when I did it chromatically yesterday without really stopping at all. So, so there's Clarke number 3. Now, the rest of these, so that this video is not longer than an hour even, and you can certainly click around, and I'll have a student of mine go through and tag the sections so you can go quickly. But it's all about how you do the exercise. And now you'll notice that I got a little more of a double buzz in the end of that last one. Yeah, that's not ideal, but I'm willing to kind of go with the exercise and try to keep it soft. You also might have noticed that the C one that I just did was probably twice as loud as the, I don't know, I think I did E flat on the page before that. And yeah, it's easy to add air as you go up, but as long as it's still sort of working in a soft way, as long as I'm playing as softly as I can right now, I think that's okay. And then if I want to go back and do all those ones again, especially if I'm videotaping, then I can go back and say, all right, that was fine, but I'm watching, I don't know if you noticed my eyes drift over to the screen because, well, the OBS has a decibel meter on it, and I can see exactly whether or not I'm playing louder or softer. And yeah, those last 2 or 3, I was definitely playing louder than I was on, let's say, the low B, right? And part of that's because it's easier to play softly and lowly, lower. There's a little bit less energy to the sort of the amplitude of the note, so it's easier to limit it. It's also lower kind of pressures, and so. But anyway, I'm just saying that if I get an okay result in the high register, then I know if I add air to that and allow for myself to play a little louder, which is generally how we play in the high register anyway, it'll be fine. And this only helps me play softer in the high register when I need to, which is something you do need to do, and we just really don't practice enough. So it's a good way to kind of take care of all this all at once. But okay, so let's just play a little bit of each one of the next couple of studies, just so you get a taste of what it's like. Here, let me shut off my timer. We also could have been using a metronome for all of these, but I don't want to embarrass myself anymore. I've only used a metronome on the Clarke book recently, yesterday, and even though it went quite well, it's a little bit different under pressure. I think I'd like to practice that a little bit more and make sure that I know my bad scales better, right? Also, when we get to the 6th study, I don't know my minor scales as well as my major scales, and so sometimes I make mistakes, and I don't want to leave them. I want to make sure that I play the right notes, and so sometimes it's helpful to be able to play a little slower so that I really get them, rather than just go as fast as I want to go and miss them, and then I have to go back for them. Now I'm building bad habits, right? So, okay, let's see, 4th study, what does he say? Well, it's back to the other book. Let's take a look and see if, in fact, well, let's see if that will load. Hey, there's Etude. Okay, here's the 4th study. Oh, yeah, there we go. Now it's in. So, these exercises, these are different, so let me read you both of these. This one on your screen says, these exercises were written to help overcome obstacles whereby the whole tone trill is often abused and played clumsily on the cornet. By careful practice, you will sound clearly in the different registers. You can overcome imperfections. So this is before we had like slides to pull, and the construction of the instrument was really, well, I have a lot of them, and I've shown them on the channel before, but there are weird notes that are out of tune, and it's easy to miss them. So let's see what else. The fingers as well as the lips must be elastic. Well, we knew that. That's been everything so far. Single and double tongue, yeah, that's cool. And Etude number 4 in one breath is possible. So what does mine say? Well, let's see. I'll go over here. On account of the difficulty of producing a whole tone trill on the cornet, it is often played in irregular and clumsy manner. Okay, so it's just a rewording. It was in order to overcome this difficulty that these exercises were written. So he's just written it in a different voice. He probably edited the other version, or maybe this one is the 2nd version, but he probably edited one of them to make it a little more elegant or a little more clear. So anyway, he just has them in a different order and with slightly different wording. So I will do some of these. Let's see. I'll try to do it without thinking too hard about it, right? Yeah, sure. We'll just start at the beginning, and I'll do a couple in a row and maybe turn the page and try to do another one. But it's all about playing really softly and really smoothly. Like we said, all of these. If I don't play that way, I'm going to hurt myself, and then I can't play for 4 hours at a time, right? So, here we go. Oh, I forgot to mention I can never play the last bar as fast as I can play the rest of it. And I try to do these in one breath. The first couple get me because I think I open up too much in the very low register. But after a while, I can almost get, like I can go fast enough that I can get them. Let's skip over, let's try to do 69, why not? As you can see, that last bit shouldn't get me, but it just does every time. And I'm ready for it. I have it in my head, but my fingers are just not ready to move. And maybe that's part of it. They're not ready to move in anything other than a pattern like the rest of it is. So either up and down or just like 3 notes in a da 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 is like, 7 notes in a row that are different. So or 8 notes or whatever. So that's why I suck at it. I just need to work on it. And you could argue that maybe I should go the whole thing at the speed that I can play the last bar. I would argue that I just need to practice all the last bars individually so that I can get them at the speed of the rest of them. But you can see I did that in one breath, even though I messed up the ending, right? So that's how I do the 4th study. And again, just take breaks when you need to. Let me give you my yesterday's numbers, which again are much better than any other week. So this took me a long time to get. Yesterday I did Clarke number 4. I did an octave in 10 minutes, and then I needed a break. It was taking it out of me. And this one really will, because the up and down, to keep that in one embouchure takes some strength, and so you'll be pretty tired after 10 minutes for sure. I would the first day, let's see if I still have that somewhere around here. Yeah, the first day, actually all of the days I've been able to go 10 minutes right away. So that seems like a pretty okay amount, but then I was done, I had to rest, and then you only have like a tritone left. And that last tritone, it's hard, man. That's really, it takes just as much out of me to play the whole first octave of them as it does to play the last 7. So if that tells you anything, then, but I'm also playing them in order, so that sort of makes sense. And then, okay, we've got the 5th study. Let's see, let's start in a bad key on this one. This one is another one that I think is really hard to play all the way through in one breath, but what does he say? Endurance is 90% of cornet playing, and willpower is necessary to accomplish what is considered an impossibility by many players, which I think is great advice, by the way. That it just takes willpower, and you can accomplish it, but you've got to believe that you can do it, because if you just consider it impossible, you're not even going to try. Diligent practice of the preceding material must have improved the breath control of the player who should now be ready for this study. So in other words, what we've played so far, you got to be a master of that before you try this. Here is a test of endurance and breath control, as these exercises comprise a range of 2 octaves. Yeah, we haven't done that yet. Then he goes on to say, don't attempt example number 94, which isn't the first one, until you have played the preceding ones over many times with perfect ease. So number 94 is the first one that goes up to high D flat. So that's a note that we haven't played yet in the book. I think that's the idea, that you've played a high C in number 1 and number 3 and number 4, but you haven't, and actually there is a high D flat in number 4, but it's approached stepwise, which this one is too. I'm not sure. Maybe that was an old marker of some sort. But he often will give you advice like the second half of this, play it like this. So basically, though, he just says, make sure you just keep playing the ones that you can play over and over again until the next one becomes easy. Okay, don't strain or force the tone. And guess what? Single and double tonguing will aid your advancement. Add to your advancement. Etude 5 must be played in one breath. Now, I have attempted Etude 5 many a time. I have never successfully played it in one breath, but perhaps that is because I need to practice it more. And so I suppose it mustn't be played in one breath until you know it well enough to do so, but then it must be, right? All right, so let's do a couple of these again. Very soft, but in this one we have crescendos And I want you to be very careful when you play these. There's crescendo up and down like we have had in the past, right? This. Right, that's normal. That's from number 1, except instead of chromatic, it's major scales now. But then you get a longer crescendo for the next part, and then you get in and out again. And then at the end, you decrescendo. So it is okay to play the middle of the exercise a little bit louder, because he's giving us a crescendo in that direction, and then the whole middle section is a little bit louder than the beginning, and then it comes back down, right? And then we have these, so we're allowed to use a little bit of air here. Just a little bit though. It's all starts pianissimo, and it all should be pretty contained. Okay, so let's try G major just to get into the top of the staff. So I'm really trying not to just give it plenty of air towards the end, because that's not the way that I already know how to do it that way, and that's the way that makes me tired. So I'm trying to learn the way that doesn't, and that's, now, like I said, you can use a little bit more air, but if I really try to keep it the same dynamic the whole way, I'll probably use a little more air anyway. So that's how I do the 5th study, and this one goes up all the way to high F, and I'll tell you from my experience over the last couple of weeks that high F is really hard. It's not a hard note to just slam into, but it is really hard to play this way. And I think if I rest more, this is part where I would really like to strategize how I'm going to get through the entire Clarke book in one day, and what am I going to do about this part exactly, right? So number 98 is, I still do them, but I just stop playing whenever it caps out. So normally I'm good up to high E flat, and then high E is the first one that's like, I don't think so. And remember, this is consecutive order, so I'm just going, I'm not resting. Maybe if I rest a little more, or I think yesterday I actually rested too much before I attempted the ends of these. And so, but that's only the first half of number 5. The second half of number 5 has minor and major scales sort of back to back, and it plays all 3 types of minor, as long as you don't care whether you're going up or down. So it plays melodic minor on the way, all the way up for 2 octaves, and well, an octave, two octaves plus a note, and then natural minor on the way down for the first octave, and then harmonic minor on the way down for the second octave. And I didn't know this part was even in the book for a long time, because I saw the beginning of number 5, and I just thought, well, that's what that is, and you know, I know how to play fast major scales, I think, so I'm just going to skip it. And I think that's what a lot of people think, but I couldn't do this exercise for like 3 days, and I probably still can't. Let's watch. So okay, which one are we going to do? Let's play up to high C. So let's do number 105, which is B flat minor. Ugh. Let's see how I do. I forgot to read the instructions. So it's about agility of fingers, but also it should go slowly at first, obviously slower than I did, and then rapidly as possible, many times in one breath. So just like before, he doesn't give us a number exactly, but if you once you know it really well, you just want to go up and down and up and down and up and down. So let's try one a little lower, just so I think I can get the highest notes in it. So there we go. Just up and down, up and down. And these ones go all the way up to high C, no, high, first they go up to high, let's see, I had this figured out yesterday. B flat, B, yeah, so they all go up to high D, so you end on C major, and then now you go down to B major, but that one goes all the way up to D sharp, right? So let me show you what I mean. So number 10, 110, excuse me. So this is very exciting. So I'm getting the thing that I described, which is my aperture is getting spread open because I'm talking and playing and talking. I'm not doing the actual thing. So I can't play high C and D, but you've heard me do that 1,000 times. And it's actually absolutely because I'm pressing in. So let's see if we can't fix it by going slow and smooth. And if I can't, well, then, you know, bad stream, I guess. But this is the whole point, is to get to here and say, okay, I'm doing something that's antithetical to what I actually want to do. Can I figure this out? And if I can't, guess what? Time to shut it down for the day, right? And that's great because then you know you've done the maximum you can without overdoing it. If I just make this come out, and that's what we all want to do, yeah, maybe I'll be able to keep making the video, but is that really what I want to show people? Is the crummiest version of me getting one, like not even that high a note? No, I want to do it exactly right because that patience and discipline is going to help me play a lot longer for the rest of my career, right? So here we go. We'll try to get it out slowly and smoothly. It's just a high D after all. All right, so that was marginally successful. The D never sounded great, but it never hurt. And you can see adding a little bit of pressure, but that pressure is always counterbalanced by air, tongue position, and a little bit of muscle, and sort of the aperture trying to hold itself together. So I'm excited about that. That went great. And all I had to do was go slow and smooth. So this is what I mean, is if I'm doing any of these exercises and I'm going too fast, I'm never going to really learn anything. So it's smooth first, then soft, and then fast, right? And while you're going slowly, you can still do the other two, and you'll get better at the trumpet. But if you go too fast, then you won't really learn anything, and you won't know the fingering still, like I don't on some of these. All right, so now let me demonstrate the next thing. I don't know if a D sharp will come out or not, but it goes down a half step, and then it's going up to the major third instead of up to the ninth, right? So, and then it goes just down, down, down. So I'm not really sure what the point of that is exactly. If it expanded, then I would sort of understand, but I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to try to play through them. Now, like I said, we can blast out these notes, you know. But getting them that way isn't really going to teach me anything new. I already know how to do that. And that way works in a pinch, and it works in commercial music a lot, and, you know, it's fine, but it's not very delicate, and I want the delicacy. So I really want to drive home the point that I know I sound bad. I want you to hear that too, because it's okay to sound bad in the practice room. And this is what I'm doing. So anyway, that's how I do number 5, both parts. The sixth study, he says, is better than long tones. But since we're at just over an hour now, I'm going to cut it off here and just say, this is not a complete guide to the Clarke book. It's a challenge to say, well, if we really all played like Clarke suggests, which is to say really small, controlled aperture, really soft, it's not using our air, but not using our air as a crutch, not overusing our air, and also not really using our lips except to keep them supple and moving and vibrating, right? If we figure out how to do that, then we're going to be much more efficient trumpet players. And then I said we would do it, let's do it. Let me get the Charlier book out. It's right here. I need to pick something to play soon for ITG, and the Charlier book is not it, but I'll pick a Charlier. And so now we've worked on our aperture. Oops, sorry about that. Oh boy, number 5, which is number 2, showed up. I don't want to play that, man. These are all... Okay, how about this one? So, this is number 7 in the old numbers. I don't remember which one it is in the new numbers. So I'm gonna play some of it. We'll see how far I get. I'm gonna play it just the way that I want to play it. So in other words, it starts Fieramento, and which I'm guessing is a little bit on the more loud side, and then it goes to mezzo forte, and then it goes to piano. And so I'm going to try to do all of those, but I'm going to try to maintain my sort of Clarke-built embouchure, and we'll see how it goes. So by far not a perfect run of Du Style here. Like I said, number 7 in the old book, but I have no business playing that after all the playing I've done today. And well, when I start with just the Clarke book, which I didn't do today, and I work my way all the way through it, I feel a little better than I do right now, actually. And so now this could be day after day after day fatigue. So I want you to be careful if you're trying this at home. Don't just play the whole Clarke book and then call me on the phone and tell me that I broke your lip. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to play the Clarke book exactly the way that he asked you to play it, and then see if that helps you be a little bit more efficient And does it cost anything? I feel like that was just as expressive and just as about as much as success in terms of the getting the notes to come out as I normally have playing an etude I haven't looked at in years. Sorry for the there's a bad carry through accidental A sharp that I just absolutely butchered, and so I should be doing better than that. But I'll work on it later. But I didn't have as much sound in the lower register in piano as I think I would like to have. So I haven't worked it all out yet, but I was never afraid that those notes would speak. And normally I'm terrified of the low register, that it's not going to speak on me. So I think this is going the right direction. Anyway, I don't think I saw any comments from anybody. Oh, there's do Charlie A6. Well, I don't know which one Charlie A6 is in this book versus your book. I can't remember. I can never remember this. I'll do a little bit of this Charlie A6, and you can tell me if it's the right one. How about that? Okay. Yeah, I have to practice it after the first two lines there. That's my Charlie A6 in this case, and so I don't know if that's the one you wanted to hear. I bet it's not, because they're all in a different order. This is the old Charlie A book, which I learned just recently, by the way, if anybody's watching still. Came down off of IMSLP in favor of the Leduc, which is the standard, but the Leduc is now public domain. You can just have it. It's a year out of copyright. So we can all have the same numbers as each other now, but there might be a reason that these etudes were in the order they were in before, and so it's nice to have a physical copy of the original, even if it's just a copy, like a spiral bound, Kinko's copy. So anyway, well, that's going to do it for me. Cut, time, do, style. Okay, geez, I'm going to try to find it for you, but cut, time, do, style is number 6. I'm sure I'll recognize it right away. Oh yeah, number 9. This one I probably can kind of play. All right, let me move my microphones and we'll see how far I get. I'm sure I won't even get to the last line before I'm toast, but and I hate sitting to do all these. I like to stand. I support better. So I'm struggling in every which way here, but okay, here we go. Okay, there you go. Whoever asked for it, you guys are ganging up on me now. Quad Father 64 requested it, and Thomas is calling it in. But anyway, it was fun to end with that. So yeah, I mean, I really feel a lot more, not invincible by any means, but just doing this every day for 2 weeks, I feel like I'm not in trouble when I get in trouble anymore, if that makes sense. I feel like, oh, okay, well, got to be careful, but I can keep going. And then I do, and I can. So I'm not sure if it will help, but I should give credit where credit's due. This all was sort of inspired by a Tom Hooton Instagram post, which everybody should be following and like, taking his advice above all else. But he was talking about working his way through the through the Clarke book again, and that every time he does, he feels like he figures something new out and gets stronger and better. And I thought, yeah, I wonder if I can do that. And then I thought, well, I wonder if I can, how far I can just get if I start from 1, which is a totally different thing to do. But I just wanted to really do it right, and I felt like maybe I can get all the way through if I really do it right. So I'm not suggesting that to anyone, but when you do the Clarke book, do it right, whatever exercise you're doing. And yeah, let me know if it works. All right, that's it for now. See you next time. I hope you learned something, and I'll talk to you later.